This past week, you probably sat around a table somewhere and enjoyed a Thanksgiving meal. You probably had some turkey, you had some gravy, probably had some yams, maybe you got like the marshmallows on it. Maybe you have somebody who does something special. Somebody makes tamales or something that's their special treat. But we all got around and we all ate something really good. A lot of families have a tradition to also take a moment and just reflect and say something that they're thankful for. Do any of you do that? You go around the table and say, hey, I am thankful for this. We typically thank God for things like, Lord, thank you for your provision this last year. Lord, thank you for that new job. Or Lord, thank you for, getting married. Or thank you for a new baby in our family. We think of these kind of big life moments. Lord, thank you for my health. And we often think of these types of things. What you do not hear at the Thanksgiving table is somebody saying, Lord, thank you that I lost my job. Or, Lord, thank you that the doctor told me I have an incurable disease. Or, Lord, thank you that my best friend betrayed me. You see, saying things like this are strange, and it doesn't feel quite natural to thank God for the painful things that come in our life. Today, we're going to take a real spin on this, and we're going to take a moment and talk about being thankful for the pain. Being thankful for the pain that has come into your life. Have any of you ever gone through a season of pain? By show of hands. Are any of you sitting next to a pain right now? More hands. Wow. Most of us try and avoid pain at all costs, right? We don't like pain. It's uncomfortable. But we've all experienced pain in life. Sometimes we try to build, walls and barriers around us to try to protect us, but pain has a way of finding its way into our lives. But did you know that pain can actually be a good thing? Pain can actually be a good thing. It can be for your benefit. Now, I know what you're saying. Pastor Nick, what are you talking about? This does not make sense. Just hold on. We're going to dive into the scriptures. We're going to flesh this out here. If you have a Bible, turn to Luke chapter 17. We're starting in verse 11. Oh, also want to let you know, there's a QR code in a seat area in front of you. You could scan that, and you could get our notes online, and you could follow along right there as well. Verse 11. Now on his way to Jerusalem, Jesus traveled along the border between Samaria and Galilee. As he was going into a village, 10 men who had leprosy met him. They stood at a distance and called out in a loud voice, Jesus, Master, have pity on us. Now, leprosy is a disease that actually still exists today. We don't call it leprosy anymore. They actually refer to it as Hansen's disease. It's a disease that where there are lesions that develop all over your body. And these lesions that develop, they kind of kill the nerve endings in that part of your body. So imagine this. Imagine if you couldn't feel, then you can't sense when there is pain happening. So if you had leprosy in your foot and you were walking and a rock got in your shoe somehow, you spent all day walking on that rock, but you couldn't feel it. Well, when you took your shoe off, your foot is going to be a bloody mess. So leprosy is really, it's the deadening of nerves. And so because of that, because you can't feel pain, that particular part of your body is actually really prone to injury. That's what leprosy is. Now, lepers also were socially rejected in their community. So much so that they could not live in town. They had to live on the outside of town. And it got even worse than that. They had to announce, if anybody was coming close, that they were a leper. So if somebody was walking around getting close, hello, just want to let you know that I'm a leper. Now imagine if you and I had to do that for certain things in our life. People were getting close to you and you're like, hello, I just want to let you know that I'm a liar. Hello, I just want to let you know that I'm a gossip. Hello, I just want to let you know that I'm a glutton. So as people were coming close, you had to announce the things that were wrong with you. That would be horrible. But this is what these lepers had to do. So they were really kind of socially outcast, and Jesus spent time with them. And he had this interaction with them. There were 10 lepers, and they asked Jesus to have pity. Now that word pity in Greek, it means mercy, compassion, and to help. Clearly, these lepers, they desired to be healed from their disease. Verse 14. When he saw them, he said, "Go show yourself to the priests." And as they went, they were cleansed. One of them, when he saw he was healed, came back, praising God in a loud voice. He threw himself at Jesus' feet and thanked him. And he was a Samaritan. So check this out. One out of the 10, only one out of the 10 who had this amazing miracle took place, came back to say thank you to God. In a weird way, this leper who came back to thank God was thanking God that he had the ability to feel pain again, because he had not been able to feel pain in those certain areas of his body because of the leprosy. He was thanking God that he could feel again. Now you may think, well, why do I want to feel pain in my life? The first point is that pain is a signal. Pain is a signal. It can tell you that something is wrong or something is dangerous. Physical pain is often a way to alert us that something can hurt you or something is hurting you. Think of a child who maybe doesn't understand that, hey, don't touch the stove because it's hot. They touch the stove, and it's the pain of, oh, that's hot, that they move their hand back. Pain can help influence you to back away from dangerous or hurtful situations. Pain is a signal. In your cars, you have something that are called dashboard indicators. They tell you whether you need an oil change. They tell you whether you need fuel. They tell you if your car is running hot or cold and have all these different things. Well, an indicator will pop up to let you know, hey, you're getting close to running out of gas. Or, hey, there's something not quite right with the engine. It's an alert system. Now, if you have ever chosen to ignore the symbols and the indicators that come your way, then maybe your car ends up in the shop with a very expensive repair. You see, pain can be a signal that you need to address something around you. My next point is that pain isn't meant to destroy you, but to develop you. Pain isn't meant to destroy you, but to develop you. In James chapter 1, verse 2, it says, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything." Now, before we go any further, I want to make very clear, I am not saying that God caused all the pains in your life. How many of you would admit that you and I are quite capable of causing pain in our own life and causing pain in other people's lives? Some of us walk through pain because of the family we were born into or the environment or wherever we were. Some of us are in pain because of the situation that we have just kind of walked into. It's not always that God has caused that pain, but the pain is still there, so we need to learn what we can do with the pain. Now, parents will often use pain as a motivation for a child to change a behavior. Maybe you grew up in a family where a parent would spank you if you did something wrong. They were trying to teach you a lesson. Don't do that. don't talk back, or don't touch that, whatever it may be. Whatever the situation is, they were trying to teach you that. And maybe in your household, maybe it was a situation where it's more like you're going to sit in timeout, or you're going to have this thing taken away from you, causing some sort of a pain because of a loss of something. Now, maybe some of you had a parent that, they weren't going to do something in public that everybody could see, so they got real sneaky, all right? They'd come up behind you, and you were mouthing off or doing something you shouldn't do, and they grab this part of your arm right here. Pinch! And if you were really bad, pinch and twist! Get your stuff together. What are you doing? Don't act like that. Now, no child in the moment, when they're enduring pain, says this: Mommy, thank you for loving me enough to teach me rules and boundaries. No child, why did you pinch me? Why did you do that? As adults, it's something that we need to learn to appreciate what pain can actually teach us. To avoid all pain in your life means that you are avoiding growing. To avoid all pain in life means that you are avoiding growing. Now, I'm not just talking about physical pain. I'm talking about relationship. I'm talking about job stuff. I'm talking about, all that financial, whatever it may be. If you avoid all pain, you are actually limiting the amount that you can grow in life, because growing can often be painful. Now, when I was a child, I had growing pains. I would get terrible pain in my knees. Any of you have that as a kid? Where I would just grow, and my knees would just feel it, like, ah. I remember I had a summer where I grew like 4 inches in a summer, and my knees were hurting because it was a signal that my body was growing. You see, when we go through situations in life, we can allow the pain to actually help us to grow. My next point is that preparation can come packaged in pain. Preparation can come packaged in pain. Pain can be meant to prepare you for what's next in life. Pain can position you to where you need to be and where God needs you to be. Pain can also push you towards your purpose. One of my favorite stories is the story of Joseph in Genesis chapter 37 to 50. Now, we don't have time to read through 13 chapters. I would encourage you, read this. This is an incredible story. Let me give you some highlights. There's this young man named Joseph. He was a part of a huge family. He had these brothers. And, in a family, there's always kind of a favorite child. Any of you have a family? There's one favorite child. Were any of you the favorite child? I'm the favorite child, and I'm saying it because my parents are sitting here. So, there might be a favorite child, and that may cause some issues with some of the other family members. So, in Joseph's family, Joseph had this dream where all of his siblings and his parents were going to bow down because he was going to be put in some sort of authority position. When he shared this dream with his brothers got mad. They're like, "Who do you think you are?" So what did they do? They took him to the outside of town. They threw him into a pit. They were going to leave him there to die. And then one brother was like, "All right, maybe we shouldn't kill him. We'll sell him into slavery instead." So he was thrown into this pit. Then he's sold into slavery, and he ends up at this guy's house named Potiphar. So from the pit to Potiphar. In Potiphar's house, he was given responsibilities to do around the house, and everything that he did really well. And he continued to grow in his leadership. Now, Joseph could have just chose to give up. My own family got rid of me. I was sold into slavery. But he went into this man's house, and he still worked hard. He still did what he should do. And he grew in his organization skills. He grew in his delegation skills. He grew in managing a large staff. In fact, he grew so much that he became in charge of everything in the household. This was how he chose to grow during this painful season. And if you've read this story, then Potiphar had a wife. She was the first desperate housewife. She came along and she tried to go after Joseph day after day after day, and Joseph wasn't having any of it, and she accused him of rape. Joseph literally runs out of the house, and he is thrown into prison. So he went from the pit to Potiphar's house. Now he's in prison for a crime that he did not commit. He could have given up again, but in the prison, he still worked hard. He still did what he should do. God was still preparing him and teaching him things. He was learning patience. He was learning leadership abilities. And one day, these two servants of Pharaoh just happened to be thrown into prison. And they had some dreams, and he was able to interpret the dreams for them. And he told one of them, he said, listen, you're going to be brought back into Pharaoh's household, and when you do, remember me. Well, when that time came, the servant totally forgot about Joseph. It was several years later. Joseph had been in jail for years. Then Pharaoh had this really weird dream. Nobody could interpret it, and he was asking around, and one of his servants goes, I remember this guy in jail. He could probably interpret your dream. So Joseph goes from the pit to Potiphar's house to prison. Now he's in the palace, standing before Pharaoh. Pharaoh tells him this dream. He has this dream about these cows. There's 7 fat cows. Then there's 7 skinny cows, and the skinny cows eat the fat cows. And it's this really weird dream. And Joseph is praying to God, and God tells him what the dream means and says, there's going to be years of abundance followed by years of famine. A wise person will prepare for the years of famine ahead. Take this abundance, set aside a percentage every year, so when the years of famine come, you are prepared. Well, Pharaoh goes like, wow, that's amazing. I'm going to make you in charge of all of this. So this guy who was a slave and a prisoner is now second in command of all of Egypt. If anybody in life had a reason to gripe or to be bitter about the painful circumstances that he was in, it was Joseph. But he allowed those seasons of pain to continue to propel him forward. What is your pain preparing you for in life? What is your pain preparing you for in life? Are you allowing the pain to paralyze you? Or are you allowing the pain to help you progress? God doesn't want to waste the pain in your life. You see, we serve a redeeming God who wants to redeem those painful seasons of your life. He can give those things purpose in life if you will choose to let him. God physically repositioned Joseph and trained him over all of these years so that when the moment came that he could stand in front of Pharaoh, that he was ready for that particular moment. If he had not gone through all that pain, he would never have been ready for that moment. So what is God preparing you for? Joseph was being prepared to save an entire nation of people. In Genesis chapter 50, verse 20, it says, you intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives. So remember that story we talked about in the beginning where the brothers were like, hey, you had this really weird dream that you're all going to bow down to us and parents were going to bow down to us? It's happening. His brothers come into the land of Egypt. They have no food. They go before Joseph, but they don't know it's Joseph. They find out that it's Joseph, and they're scared. I mean, they sold this guy into slavery. But Joseph realizes that God was doing something in the midst of all of that pain. Verse 20 says, you intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives. My next point is that we need to remember there is always potential in pain. There is always potential in pain. You have to make a choice when you go through painful experiences. Will I react in a way that fuels growth in my life, or will I react in a way that grounds me in life? If you've ever been in a significant relationship, marriage, or in a dating relationship, or even just, a family relationship, you have probably gone through some painful moments. You've had some hard conversations where somebody says something and it's like, oh, that hurt. But you have a choice to make. Do I allow that painful moment to teach me, to help me to grow, to help us grow in trust and loyalty? So the next time you are trying to avoid the conversation, you're really avoiding growing. Allow God to grow you. Some other areas of life that maybe you've walked through some pain. Maybe you've walked through a betrayal in life. Well, you could be the person that just, I'm not going to, ever allow anybody to be my friend again in life. Or you could choose to be a person that really highly values loyalty, and you become a really loyal person to the people around you. Maybe you're a person that you've gone through some painful experiences at your job. Well, you could choose to give up, or you can choose to allow those painful moments at your job to develop patience or perseverance in your life. Maybe you're somebody who's gone through painful experiences of being lonely. Well, I want to encourage you, then be an includer. One of the things that I think that students have an opportunity every day at lunch, at recess, whatever grade level they're a part of, is there are kids that are sitting by themselves. And if you've ever experienced loneliness, then you could be the one that's an includer and go over there and say, like, hey, why don't you come join us today? Or, hey, can I sit by you? Or, hey, I got this really cool youth group, Rooted, that we go to. Hey, you want to come check that out? You can be an includer. Maybe you've been somebody that, like, negativity and lies has been spread about. So then you are a person who really values encouragement. So you could be an encourager to others. Maybe you're somebody who has gone through some major health issues in life. Maybe those health issues can be motivation for a breakthrough. Do you know that most medical breakthroughs that we have had has been because somebody went through something terrible, or a loved one went through something terrible, and it motivated somebody to spend their life trying to find a cure for that disease? What if they decided, I'm not going to allow that pain to really help me? No, they allowed the pain to motivate them and push them towards a purpose. Maybe you're somebody, you've walked through some financial crisis, financial pain. Well, you could choose just to give up, or you could choose to do it God's way, and then you learn to trust God and His provision. You learn how to budget your finances, and you're somebody who appreciates what God has given you so much more. Maybe you're somebody that you grew up without a dad. You could choose to be like, I don't care, I'm going to be a horrible dad myself, or you could choose to be the person that says, even though I didn't have a dad, I'm going to be a fantastic dad because I know the value that it can create in somebody's life because of the pain that I went through. When I was coaching high school basketball, I was an assistant varsity coach, and the varsity coach kind of had this saying that he would always say. He would tell the guys, do it like a man, or man up. Well, we had this one player, in one practice, he had just had it. He was done. And when the coach said, do it like a man, this player just stopped. He said, I don't have any men in my life. I don't know what that means. Even though he was in pain, he now let us know what he needed. He needed role models. You see, pain can help push you towards a purpose. Now, here's a question that everybody likes to ask. How long do I have to walk in pain? How long is this season going to be? Here's my answer. Pain will leave you when it's done teaching you. Pain will leave you when it's done teaching you. So the question then becomes, how fast do you learn? Some of us learn really slow, and we almost enjoy being in that pain. But if we allow that pain to teach us quickly, we can move on from it quickly. Remember that pain can always push us towards a purpose. In Romans chapter 8, verse 28, this is what it says. And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. A couple of weeks ago, I did a message on the offense of the cross. If you didn't happen to make it that day, you could go online on our website. You could go to YouTube or YouTube channel and check it out. I want to encourage you, check that message out. We've been talking about being thankful for the pain. What if God decided, you know what? That whole cross experience, the pain of that, you know what? I don't really want my son to go through that. Then we don't have salvation. Or what if Jesus decided, this pain is too much. I can't endure this. Before he even got to the cross, he kind of had this little conversation with God, and he's like, God, I don't know that I want to do this, but he's like, not my will, your will be done in my life. Without pain, we have no redemption. We need to learn to be thankful for the pain, because the pain can push us in life. It has potential to teach us and to grow us and push us towards a purpose. I want to close in prayer. Ask everybody that you would just close your eyes for a moment. Lord, if there's anybody here that they're walking through a painful season right now, God, I first pray that you would strengthen them for the journey that they're in. Let them know that they are not alone. And let them choose, God, to learn through the season that they're in. That even though they may not want to be in the season that they're in, that there still can be value to it because you can redeem